I want to welcome everyone. Oh, sorry. I want to welcome everyone. And again, I want to thank everyone for coming in for the tefillahs, having the patience today. Thank you so much. We have an unbelievable week next week, Me'eretz Hashem. And I want to say again how privileged I feel, as I always say it, to have every amazing woman who comes on, takes their time for us, and comes on live to teach us. So all the women who come on live, I really thank you so much, because it's really showing our Hakara Satov to these women who do this for us. Nechama Dina Hendel is co-director of Chabad of Baka and the Friendship Circle of South Jerusalem. She is passionate about her family and the outreach work she feels blessed to be a part of. She is in her element teaching Torah in her community and at various seminaries. So, Nechama Dina, are you here?
Hi.
1 second, can't see you. Just barely, but we can't see you, Nechama Dina.
Okay, so my video is open.
There you go. Oh, beautiful. You're gorgeous.
So
okay, I'm taking myself off. Go ahead.
So first of all, I'm really honored and touched to be a part of this gathering. Just hearing the heartfelt tefillot and seeing so many Nashim Tzidkaniyot gathering together is just uplifting. And Hashem must be seeing this and bringing the Geula so quickly, Bezrat Hashem. So the topic for today is how to turn up the volume on Simcha, and particularly 5 strategies to increase our joy here and now in the month of Adar. So we know that it's written in the Talmud, in Tanis 26:2. It's written, Kishem shemisha nichnas av mematin b'simcha, just like when the month of Av enters, we decrease in joy. Kach, so too, misha nichnas Adar marbin b'simcha. When Adar enters, we increase in joy. So I feel like sometimes we're familiar with this statement out of context. Most of us have heard, Misha nichnas Adar marbin b'simcha. When Adar enters, we're supposed to increase in joy, but actually it's a segment of a broader statement, which is just like we decrease in Av, so too we increase in the month of Adar. And the obvious question is, doesn't this statement from the Gemara somehow make the sadness in Av seem primary and the just like as something secondary? How is this possible? And Chassidut explains that when we take a deeper look, we will see it's exactly the opposite. Why? When it comes to decreasing joy in the month of Av, the Mishnah states 5 specific ways to decrease in joy, such as you cannot drink wine, you can't eat meat, we try not to bathe or swim for pleasure, etc. But 5 specific ways. And yet, when the Gemara comes and tells us, Mishenechmas Adar Marvin B'Simcha, in Adar you should turn up the volume on your joy, there are no 5 or any number of specific ways to increase in joy mentioned. Why is that? And the answer is because there is no limit on how joyful we should be. And yet, when we have prescribed times for bitterness, not depression or sadness, which is never something that Judaism encourages, but bitterness, such as in Av, we're mourning the destruction of both of our holy temples, then that kind of bitterness has to be limited to only specific expressions, because the general state of a Jew should always be joy, simcha, and trust in Hashem. So actually, the joy is, of course, the precedent and the greater one, because there's no specifications, it's unlimited. And when it comes again to the sadness, or more precisely the bitterness, then there's only specific outward measures of decreasing in simcha, but inwardly we have an explicit statement. We all sang it so beautifully from chapter 100 of Tehillim, Ivdu et Hashem b'simcha. And we, of course, say this in our davening as well. Serve Hashem with joy. So we always are supposed to be in a state of joy. How much more so in the month of Adar? Mishenichnas Adar, we said marbin b'simcha, but we know that it's easier said than done. And especially during these trying times, we are mentioning today our dear hostages to return home speedily and safely, our soldiers, those wounded and bereaved. We know that this year we have an extra challenge of maintaining our simcha, how much more so increasing that joy. So what I want to share with you today, with all of us, is 5 strategies based on Torah, based on Chassidut, for how hopefully we can implement in a practical way an increase in joy. So I'm actually going to use an acronym for HAPPY, HAPPY, and the acronym, I'll first say what those letters stand for, and then we'll discuss it in more detail. So the H of happy stands for Hashgacha Pratit, so honing in on divine providence, and of course putting H, Hashem, at the center. Then the A is all about appreciation, an attitude of gratitude. P stands for the positive thoughts, speech, and action, which automatically influences our general state of joy and well-being. And the 4th letter, the next P, stands for pretend, fake it and you'll make it. And finally, the Y at the end, I'm using a little bit of poetic license, but the Y stands for why am I here? So focusing on your purpose instead of how do I feel and what do I need and what am I lacking? Why am I here and how am I needed? So to go to the beginning, we're talking about turning up the volume on our simcha, and the H standing for Hashem and Hashgacha Pratis, divine providence. So before we made Aliyah to Eretz Yisrael over 16 years ago from Florida. It was a big change coming from the US. And I remember we called different people just to ask them what it's like here to live in Israel. And one of the questions we brought up was, how is the parnasa? How is it to support a family living in Israel? We know things are different than in America. And one of my friends shared, she said, well, I'll be honest, it can be challenging, but there's something about living in Israel where you see open hashgacha pratis, open divine providence, and somehow, month by month, even if you don't think things are going to work out, miraculously, the dollars and cents end up working out with Hashem's amazing hashgacha pratis, divine providence. So we got to see this firsthand shortly after we moved here. Like I said, on Hanukkah, a little over 16 years ago, we started the Chabad of Batla community for Olim who come from around the world. And we rented a space in Emunah College, which is on Derech Beit Lechem Street in the neighborhood, to have shul and services and events. And it was the day to pay the bills for the month. This was a few months after we made Aliyah. And my husband noted to me, he said, you know, we have to pay the bills for the shul, for the Chabad house, and we're 400 shekels short. But he said, I'm sure Hashem is going to help and it's going to work out. Just like a couple of hours later, my husband was checking his voice messages on his phone. And there was an unknown number, a woman asking that my husband call her back. So he did. He called her back. And this woman, an Israeli woman, asked, can I come over to meet you guys? She says, I have a debt to pay to Chabad. We welcomed her over to our home. This lovely Israeli woman comes in and she shares, you know, my daughter is going to be getting married this week. And before her wedding, she started to do some stock taking, you know, asking forgiveness from people, thinking things through. And my daughter just remembered that a year ago, she was traveling in Thailand and she was pickpocketed. Her money, her documents, everything was stolen from her. There she was, stranded, an Israeli girl in Thailand. So where did she go? To the local Chabad house. And there was a very nice man at the Chabad house who immediately gave her $100 cash and helped her reach her family to wire her, whatever she needed and take care of the documents. And this Israeli girl was so grateful. And she says to the man, please give me your address. I want to pay you back. And the man at the Chabad house in Thailand said, don't worry about paying me back. If you want, you could pay the kindness forward, and you can give that money to any Chabad house in the entire world. Fast forward, it's a full year later. This Israeli girl is about to get married. And as she's thinking things through, she remembers her mother, out of all the Chabad houses in the world and in Israel, well, actually, to be fair, she said she called a few numbers, but my husband was the only one who called her back. So she lands up at our door the day that we need exactly that sum. At that point, it was actually 400 shekel for $100. And she hands it over very warmly and graciously. And we were all blown away. We shared with her the other part of the story. We were blown away by Hashem's amazing Hashgacha Pratis, the amazing divine providence, of course, also the amazing Achdus, the unity of Am Yisrael, and how one kind deed in Thailand made its way full circle to Baka, Jerusalem a year later. But what I'm mentioning for the happiness is honing in on the Hashgacha Pratis and sharing. Tell your family, tell your friends, there was such an amazing divine providence. If it's something little, it's something big. It welcomes Hashem into our lives, which is what Adar stands for. Aleph, Dar. We want to bring the Aleph, Hashem, the Alufo Shel Olam, Dar, literally to dwell into our homes. And we could do that by focusing and recognizing the amazing divine providence, which is all over the world, and especially in Eretz Yisrael. I also want to mention the next letter, which is A, standing for appreciation and an attitude of gratitude. So Judaism helps us to become more grateful people. Just when we're opening our eyes in the morning and we're just getting into the world of consciousness, what is the first thing that we're supposed to do before we even wash our hands? We say, Modeh ani lefanecha. Thank you, Hashem, for returning my soul to me, for trusting me to live another meaningful day in front of you. And throughout the day, all the Mea brachot, the 100 brachot, all these blessings cultivate this feeling of gratitude. And I'm sure if you pay attention, you'll realize when you say a bracha with feeling, or as we said together, Mizmor LeTodah, chapter 100 of Tehillim, it literally creates these good feelings of joy just from counting your blessings and feeling how grateful you are. Some of you may have seen that video that went viral of Yehuda Becher, Zichrono Livracha, who was killed at the Nova Festival on Simchat Torah. And there he is, there's a video just a short while before he was brutally murdered. And he was singing Elokai Neshama, Shanatata Bi Tehorahi, that thanking Hashem for his neshama. And he says, like, Modeh ani lefanecha, thank you, Hashem. So this appreciation, this gratitude. There's a story of the Baal Shem Tov. There was a water carrier named Beryl. And Beryl, the water carrier, every single morning, he used to pass by the Baal Shem Tov study hall, carrying these heavy pails on his back. And every single day, the Baal Shem Tov would ask for Beryl, how are you? And Beryl would smile and he would say, Baruch Hashem. And he would continue with his heavy buckets of water to help the people of the town. One morning, the Baal Shem Tov asks Beryl, how are you, Beryl? He heaves a heavy sigh. And Beryl says, dear kind rabbi, it's so sensitive of you to inquire. But to tell you the truth, life is not easy. Look how I'm getting older and I need to schlep these heavy buckets of water on my back. And now there are these new homes at the top of the hill and I need to schlep further and up the hill to provide the water. And I have so many children that I need to feed and I need to provide clothing for. It's tough, not easy. And he sighs and continues on his way. The very next day, again, Beryl passes the Baal Shem Tov's Beit Midrash, and the Baal Shem Tov says, "How are you, Reb Beryl?" And Reb Beryl smiles broadly and he says, "Baruch Hashem, thank God. Look how good Hashem is to me. Even as I'm getting older, I'm still able to work. I have the physical strength. And look how Hashem worries for me that he provided these extra homes at the top of the hill so that there's more parnasa to feed my growing family. And could you imagine how blessed I am? I have so many delightful children and so much nachas, so much good that Hashem has blessed me with." And with that, and with a light step, he continues on his way with the sunshine glistening in the water pails over his back. The students of the Baal Shem Tov were perplexed. It was the same Beryl, with the same creases in his face, the same tattered clothing and shoes. Why is he all of a sudden so positive and upbeat? And the Baal Shem Tov explained, you should know the only difference between yesterday and today was that he said, Baruch Hashem. Yesterday, he forgot to say Baruch Hashem. And when he forgot to thank Hashem, he forgot the A of appreciation, he felt heavy. All the negativity was weighing him down. But today, and every day that he remembers to say, Baruch Hashem, he counts his blessings, then he feels so happy, so joyful, and so grateful. And we are not in easy times, but I want to share two incredible role models who, even amidst the greatest tribulations, are exhibiting gratitude and thanks to Hashem. So one of them is a dear friend of ours. Some of you may have heard or seen Rachel Goldberg-Polin. She lives in our neighborhood in Talpiot, and her dear beloved son Hirsch was kidnapped from the Nova Festival at age 24. He's been in Hamas captivity now for over 150 days. And we're close to Rachel. Our community's been doing lots of mitzvot and initiatives for him. She came to our challah, and she is just a reservoir of faith and positivity. And when it came to day 150, she shared a video how every single day she was saying the chapter of Tehillim corresponding to the day of captivity. So on day 150, Rachel found herself particularly disappointed. How can it be? She's at the closing chapter of Tehillim and her dear son has still not been returned to her. And she also was wondering, how will she continue this tradition after the Tehillim has been completed? And then Rachel reflected and she said, you know, chapter 150 is all about joy, hallelujah, thanking Hashem, praising Hashem. And Rachel said she will say that chapter not only on day 150, to manifest thanks and joy and positivity that she wants to bring into actuality. So she said it on day 150, and she said she's going to continue now. So every day now she's saying chapter 150, and plus she restarted the book of Tehillim. So if a mother who's living in a world, as she describes it, without any ear, can thank Hashem and praise Hashem and sing hallelujah, how much more so each and every one of us, how much more so each and every one of us. So I'm joining her in the initiative of saying chapter 150 for Hirsch Ben Perelchana, that's his Hebrew name, and all of our hostages to come home speedily and safely. And the mother of Ori Danino, Einav Efrat, also goes around the world speaking and asking people to thank Hashem. Her son is also in Hamas captivity. She says she thanks Hashem throughout the day, and she's asking her one request is that we should thank Hashem and we should say Mizmor LeTodah, chapter 100 of Tehillim, also to manifest positivity, thanks, and gratitude. Thank you for writing. So the Nishmat group, you do that for all the hostages. That is beautiful, really. Just tuning in today, I'm honored and touched by all that you're doing from strength to strength. Amazing. And I'm sure that it is creating Yeshuot salvations for all of Am Yisrael. So thank you. So we spoke about H, Hashgacha Pratis, honing in on the divine providence, welcoming Hashem in your life by noticing all the synchronization, which is really Hashem's hand, making things work out and come together. We spoke about appreciation, this attitude of gratitude, saying chapter 150, chapter 100 of Tehillim. The Baal Shem Tov says, say, Baruch Hashem, thank you, Hashem. And also for A, I want to mention, of course, Avat Yisrael. When we have love and unity, it also facilitates that joy. So we're all connected like one golden menorah. The Jewish people are compared to the menorah, and the Baal Shem Tov says, just like the menorah was one solid piece beaten from one unit, so too for the Jewish people, if there's a bang on one side of the gold, it shakes and reverberates on the other side. So too, when there's a movement or a bang of a Jew on one side of the world, it has this ripple effect so that we feel it on the other end of the globe. And I really think that Am Yisrael is in this kind of mode right now, that whether you're in Toronto, New York, Eretz Yisrael, wherever you are, you feel a Jew on the other end of the world, and everybody's doing for one another. And this is also part of cultivating this attitude of simcha. We've been going with our community to different army bases during the war to bring just hot meals and music and chizuk to our soldiers. And recently in Adar, we went on a mission to an IDF base in Beitar. They said it was the best night for them in all of these months. I guess they're not as pampered as maybe some of the soldiers in the South. So they enjoyed the food. We brought my brothers who were on a solidarity mission from Chutz La'aretz, brought the Boshav band, Solomon Brothers. They're really incredible. Everyone was singing and dancing, and our community members came, and there was just this joy and connection. And my brother from London, Rabbi Mendel Kalmanson, shared some heartfelt words in English. A lot of them understood English, but this one soldier got up afterwards and he said, you know, I don't know English at all. But he said, looking at my brother, he said, I want you to know that I understood every word that you said. He said, because Yehudim mechabrim nefesh lenefesh. Because as Jews, we connect soul to soul. So we're this one solid golden menorah. Wherever you live, wherever you are, we're all embracing one another. And not only does this bring blessings for Am Yisrael, but it also brings us simcha. So we're moving to the P's of happy, positive thought, speech, and action, which is so important in keeping our joyful frame of mind. So the Tzemach Tzedek, who was the third Chabad Rebbe, actually came up with the famous idiom, think good, and it will be good. Trach gut, wird sein gut. The story goes that there was a chassid whose son was critically ill. On his deathbed, the doctor said, and the chassid, of course, rushed over to the Tzemach Tzedek, Rabbi Menachem Mendel, to request a blessing for his son. And the Tzemach Tzedek told him these words, Tracht gut, wird sein gut. Just think good, and it will be good. And the chassid, the whole way home, he kept just projecting those thoughts. My son will recover, he'll have a good future, things will get better. Of course, he had the Rebbe's blessing, egging him on. And by the time he got back home, the doctor said there had been a miraculous turnover. And indeed, his son recovered completely. So this is something that Rabbeinu Bachai talks about in Shara B'Tachon, and it's throughout the Hasidic teachings, that our thoughts are so potent. And of course, what we say and what we do manifests and projects into reality. I believe that medical and psychological studies agree with Chassidut, because it's proven that people who are ill, patients who believe that they will recover, who think and speak about recovery, have a much greater likelihood of actually recovering. So positive thoughts, speech, and action. And particularly, we learn in this week's Parsha Vayakel that positive action could be manifest in the greatest type of joy, which is simcha shel mitzvah. The highest kind of joy we can experience in this world is the joy of doing what Hashem wants and connecting to Him. So in Vayakel, in this week's Parsha, the Kli Yakar points out, we learn about this joy. Why? the Jewish people were donating to build Hashem's home, the tabernacle, and everybody gave generously. Every fundraiser's dream, Moshe had to tell the people to stop because there were too many donations. And the pasuk tells us, this is 36:3 from Vayakel, the Jewish people brought more and more donations in the morning. So the Kli Yakar explains, why does it say twice in the morning? So he says, one is to tell us about their zrizut, that the Jewish people rushed to do a mitzvah quickly before anyone had to ask them. And the second baboker is to teach us that they did it b'simcha. They had simcha shel mitzvah. Why? Think about your day, what it looks like. What do you do first thing in the morning? We tend to do the things that we love, the things that we enjoy, we rush to do. And the things that we less enjoy, we procrastinate, we push them off. So the fact that it says that the Jewish people donated and gave tzedakah baboker, they did it b'zrizut, they did it b'simcha. They loved giving, they enjoyed giving, and that's why they rushed to do it in the morning. So the Chida actually teaches us that simcha shel mitzvah is worth 1,000 times the mitzvah itself. So if a mitzvah is worth $1, then the simcha shel mitzvah is worth $1,000. That's a powerful thought, if you keep it in mind. So we have opportunities for positive action as Jewish people throughout the day, making a bracha b'simcha, hugging your family member, with a smile, giving tzedakah with joy. So many opportunities we have of simcha shel mitzvah. Okay. So I just want to share a personal story about the positive thought, speech, and action. This goes back about 3 years ago. I was pregnant then with our daughter, Hannah Miriam, at the height of COVID in 2020. And at the 5th month checkup at Shaarei Tzedek, I had a detailed ultrasound. And the technician was taking a rather long time, looking concerned, probing. And I was getting uncomfortable, especially with the mask over my face. And basically then the technician asks me if we did genetic testing, genetic counseling, and he reveals that there is a suspected heart defect in our baby. Of course, I was nervous and uptight about this news. We were scheduled for a follow-up test. More than a month later, we were going to have to do a fetal echocardiogram to check up the baby's heart in more detail. But in the meantime, I really had an opportunity to work on the thought, speech, and action, and trying to put out think good and will be good, to have bitachon, to have trust in Hashem when I was trying to do that. But I also thought to take on an actual positive action. And we decided with my girls that we would light Shabbos candles early. This was an inspiration that came to me because at our oldest daughter, Mushka's Bas Mitzvah, we focused on Shabbos candles. And we showed a video of this Rabbi Cousins who says that this goes back many decades, his aunt was gravely ill. And the doctor said that they had to amputate one of her legs and possibly the second leg. Devastating news. And this Rabbi Cousins was a yeshiva student in 770 in Crown Heights. And so he was elected to ask the Rebbe for a blessing for his aunt. And he did. This young yeshiva boy, Rabbi Cousins, asked for a blessing for his aunt. And the Rebbe's reply was that she should be careful to light Shabbos candles before the time. And when he relayed the response to his aunt, in her hospital room, she said, how does the Rebbe know? How does he know that this is exactly my struggle? She was a religious woman with a large family. And she said she was always hustling and bustling on Fridays, Erev Shabbos. And she was typically going into the 18 minutes. She was typically late, not after Shkia, but after the, exact time of candle lighting. And immediately she took upon herself that she will start to light candles early. A few days later, there was a subsequent checkup before the scheduled amputation of her leg. And the doctors basically declared a medical miracle, because definitely the second leg did not have to be amputated, but even the first one, they said, looked much, much better. And this woman was able to fully recover and walk on her own 2 legs. So going back to me in 2020, 5 months pregnant with our daughter and a suspected heart defect. So we decided to light Shabbos candles early over this month and strengthen thought, speech, and action. And when I went for the fetal echocardiogram, the technician said, Baruch Hashem, the best possible results you could have hoped for. Because many times, even after this test, there still has to be further testing and it's not conclusive. But he said, Baruch Hashem, we're able to see that your baby has a beautiful heart. And Baruch Hashem, she was born Erev Yom Kippur in Shaarei Tzedek Hospital. And just a few hours after she was born, we were able to light Shabbos candles in Shaarei Tzedek Hospital together with all these Nashim Tzidkaniyot. And of course, not having to prepare anything for Yom Kippur that year, I was able to even be early and add an extra candle for Chana Miriam. A second. So just to wrap things up, we're talking about 5 strategies for how to up our Simcha, Marim B'Simcha and Adar. We spoke about Hashem and Hashgacha Pratis, divine providence. We spoke about appreciation and thanking Hashem and Avas Yisrael. We spoke about positive thought, speech, and action. So think good, it will be good. And Simcha Shel Mitzvah, just take on a mitzvah, try to do it with joy. Your joy is worth 1,000 times more than the mitzvah itself. And I'm going to number 4, which is pretend. So what if you just don't feel it? You're so troubled, you're so disturbed. So actually, the Hasidic wisdom tells us, fake it and you'll make it. And actually, this is a story also with the 3rd Chabad Rabbi, the Tzemach Tzedek, whose cousin lost a child tragically. Nobody should know from this kind of grief. And this cousin wrote to the Tzemach Tzedek, Rabbi Menachem Mendel, that he's not able to come back to himself. He's completely devastated after the loss of his child. And the Tzemach Tzedek wrote to him about how Hashem runs the world and faith in Hashem. And this cousin said, I understand everything intellectually, but it's not translating into my heart. I just can't feel joyful. And the Tzemach Tzedek told him, act like a happy person. Think, speak happy things, act happy. Fake it and you'll make it. And the cousin said it was this advice that ultimately brought him back to life. So you go to weddings, be with people, smile, do what a happy person does. And this is the idea that our thought, speech, and action are actually our spiritual garments, which the Alter Rebbe explains in Tanya chapter 4. So you can put on nice clothes. Clothes make the woman. This is Chana Miriam over here. This is Chana Miriam. So we can put on beautiful spiritual garments, and then Simla is the same letters as Shlema. When we put on beautiful spiritual garments, then we become complete and wholesome. So fake it and you'll make it. Just a moment. I'm going to try to get more quiet here. So just a moment. Okay, so I'm going to wind it down with the 5th letter of why. Why am I here? So focusing on your purpose can bring you much joy. This will be the concluding story for today. So the Chassid of the Alter Rebbe, Reb Shneir Zalman, the Baal HaTanya, used to be extremely wealthy, and he used his money for great causes. He would help needy brides. He would give loans. He was just a wonderful person. And unfortunately, he lost all of his fortune. He went into debt. And what bothered him also was that he couldn't help people out, and he became depressed about his new state of poverty. And he went to the Alter Rebbe for a private audience, and he started to cry, and he said, "Oy, it's a terrible state of affairs. I've lost my money, I've lost my wealth, and what am I going to do?" And the Alter Rebbe looks at him in the eyes, and he says to him, You have told me all that you need, but you have not said what you are needed for. This chassid fainted on the spot. And when he came to, he was a changed person. He left with a feeling of purpose. He threw himself into his spiritual service of learning Torah, of mitzvot, and within a few weeks, his fortune turned around. He regained his wealth, and he was able to once again give tzedakah double fold. But if we find ourselves sinking downwards, feeling heavy, perhaps we should ask ourselves, not what do I need, but why? Why am I needed? Why am I here? What am I needed for? So l'chaim to everybody. I want to wish us all that we should successfully be able to increase our simcha by bringing Hashem into our lives and seeing his hashgacha practice, his divine providence, through appreciation, mizmor l'tovda, baruch Hashem, through positive thought, speech, and action, which are the spiritual garments that manifest our reality, and through pretending if you need to, because the clothes make the man, and finally, to focus on our purpose, wake up in the morning and say, why am I here? What am I needed for? And through this simcha, we have a double month of Adar, and the Rebbe explained 60 is a number that nullifies. 60 times the non-kosher nullifies it. Okay, and the 60 nullifies the negative, the non-kosher. So the 60 days of Adar this year has the power to nullify all negativity, melancholy, all kinds of struggles. May we see it with revealed good immediately, with health, happiness, nitzachon for Am Yisrael, and the Geula right now.
Chamadina, that was just beautiful, really fantastic, really, really fantastic. Thank you so much. And I know that your kids just came home, and it's you really mesiras nefesh. So thank you so much. That was very beautiful, really something special. Thank you so much. Thank you, Chamadina. Thank you so much. We'll be in touch. Okay, everyone, I'm going to send you the recording. We're going to continue with finishing off our tefillah.